This Uncanny X-Force, part two. I'm comfortable with calling this part two because I think Dark Angel was such a good stopping point, and then we're obviously picking up with the story, and it's affected by stuff that happened previously. But I think we are very confidently um, in a different era of X-Force.
Sure. So I would say that this is. I feel like the first half is building up to Dark Angel Saga, and now this is all fallout from that. Everything is, this is these
In a way, I mean, more accurately, it's fallout from
the
the
first,
apocalypse. Yeah, from the
yeah,
apocalypse
the
solution.
first story, yeah.
I mean, you kill a kid, that's got to come back to you at some point.
Yeah. So if you don't recall, or if you didn't watch our first recap of Uncanny X-Force, what happened was they got word that Apocalypse was back. They went in. Wolverine formed a team of mutants that would do the dirty work and take these threats out before they became a bigger threat. And they went to kill Apocalypse, found out he was a little kid, that he'd been reborn as a kid, and they couldn't do it. And then Phantom X did it anyways. He shot him.
They're
And
like, we got to talk about this, guys. Bang.
yeah, it's like, no. But what happened was Phantom X grew a clone of the kid and raised him like in a wholesome environment to see if it's really the nature versus nurture thing. And he didn't tell anybody that he did this.
Yeah, and that was Evan, aka, what was his name? Genesis?
Genesis.
Gotcha.
So Angel started becoming Archangel, the heir of Apocalypse, and they realized that there was no way to stop him. They ended up stabbing him with a life seed that kind of basically destroyed his soul and kind of reboot him with a new soul. So he has no memories of the past, no nothing. He's like a child. So they've sent Evan and Angel to Wolverine's school that he has started. And so now we pick up with Phantom X has been kidnapped by the Captain Britain Corps, and we go to the other world. And what did you think of this story?
So I had a lot of questions because I was always under the impression that Captain Britain was just Britain's answer to Captain America, like he was like a super soldier or something.
No,
Yeah, so I apparently knew nothing about Captain Britain. Is he a mutant?
I don't believe he is. He is like
Okay.
the he had to choose between a like the sword of I'm I'm sure I've got this all wrong. Like the sword of Camelot or the shield, and he chose the sword. So he's the protector of our realm. There's a lot of stuff of Merlin, and like each reality has their own Captain Britain. Um, so he's the 616 Captain Britain. This is all from Alan Moore's run way back when. So Captain Britain stories are tough because they don't reprint the Alan Moore stories. They've only reprinted it one time, and it's way out of print. And I just happened to read it at the library when I was like 20. So I have these vague memories of this really awesome story about Jim Jaspers and the Fury and all these Captain Britons dying and stuff, and Psylocke and all this stuff. And like they don't even have these stories on Marvel Unlimited. You cannot read those Alan Moore stories. So they're always referencing those stories, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I've been dealing with that lately in South Park because there's the two South Park episodes that are banned because of all the Muhammad stuff
Mm-hmm.
with and Tom Cruise trying to kidnap him. But the more but the more important thing is that it turns out that Scott Tenorman is Cartman's half brother, and Cartman killed his own father.
I really need to start watching South Park again.
Well, and the thing is they will never be able to follow up on that because those episodes were only aired once.
Yeah.
And never re-released. And so, and I just watched them for the first time recently. I'm like, these are great episodes because you all know what that means.
Yeah.
But I watched them recently. I'm like, these are great episodes, and this is such a funny twist, and they will never reference this.
Yeah.
So I at least appreciate that they, even though I don't understand what's going on with Captain Britain, I'm glad that at least, you know, they're not completely ignoring something that they're technically not allowed to reprint.
Yeah, and this is a lot of Excalibur stuff too. Stuff about her brother Jamie being insane and being a reality warper.
Wait, hold it. Okay, so it just now, because I knew there was an X-Men team called Excalibur.
Uh-huh.
It just now hit me. That has to do with Captain Britain and Betsy.
It's Kitty Pryde, Captain Britain, Nightcrawler, Megan, who's the shapeshifter girl that they were teaming up with, and Phoenix, Rachel Gray Phoenix. They were the original Excalibur. They lived in They lived in England, and they had all kinds of wacky adventures. A lot of them were dealing with other realities and stuff. It was a more lighthearted X-Men book. But one of the threats that they fought towards the end of Claremont's run on that was Jamie Braddock, her brother, who totally insane, but he can warp reality. So in this story, you're dealing with a Jamie that's sane, and on the good guy's side. So getting back to the plot real quick, they put Phantom X on trial for killing a kid, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to wipe you from reality. You are obviously affecting everybody. You're affecting my sister, leading her down a dark path. We're just going to wipe you from reality.
Well, and he is also, if I remember correctly, he is the only Phantom X, right? Like there are not any other Phantom
They
X.
said in this story that he is the only Phantom X in any reality. He's unique to the 616 universe.
Dude, Phantom X is dope. Like I said, by the end of this discussion, I will have questions.
So these are all of Nightcrawler's former teammates. Nightcrawler is dead at this point in the storylines. So this is the Nightcrawler from Age of Apocalypse, a very different Kurt. And so everybody keeps trying to interact with him, like, "Oh, my elf is back." He's like, "Don't call me elf," you know. So you got that going on, and there's like an invasion of Otherworld that starts happening. We also have the Skinless Man running around.
Yes.
He is one of the Weapon X projects.
I was not familiar with Skinless Man, and
this is his first appearance.
Okay, gotcha. I am already kind of like I want to read some more of this character.
I don't know if there's any more of him outside of these stories. I don't know if he ever comes back. These are only 2 stories I've read with him in it. Basically, at some point, he was betrayed by Phantom X, and his punishment was having all his skin removed. And Phantom X made bullets out of his skin. They were sentient bullets. We saw those in the first half of the story. He was using those. So yeah, it's this guy with no skin that has like the judge's wig on, and he can control all of his muscles, kind of like Mr. Fantastic a little bit.
He's really, almost kind of like a Carnage in a way.
Yeah, he's a terrible sociopath character. So along the way, Psylocke has to make a deal with some of the inhabitants of Otherworld, and she gives away all her sorrow. So now she can no longer feel, I guess, guilt over, just the sadness over all the stuff that's happening. They end up finding that the bad guy, the Scope guy that they've been fighting, is a Jamie from the future that gets possessed by, I guess was it a demon or something? I can't remember now.
demon. Yes, I believe it was
something. Yeah.
possession.
So they figured out that if they kill Jamie now, he'll never unlock this goat thing. And so Psylocke, Captain Britain can't do it. So Psylocke has to take control of his body and make him kill his brother.
Yeah.
It's dark.
And also remember, she is also killing her brother.
Yeah. And this is what they've always wanted, was him to be on the good guy's side. He's finally cured. He's finally sane, and they have to sacrifice him. And so once again, we've seen X-Force cross this line, this moral line, and it's really starting to, it's affecting Deadpool. Deadpool is having really bad issues.
Oh man,
what's going on
throughout this entire run? Deadpool has been one of my favorite characters. He really doesn't he really doesn't have anything personal to do in these stories. If you know what I mean, like none of these are really like
Deadpool centric stories. Yeah, these are not Deadpool centric stories. He's just there, and yeah.
And I mean, it's, and
he's like, I love killing, but I can't do this anymore, guys.
So as far as answering your question, it is so difficult.
Do not ask me who Widget is. It'll break your brain. The little robot guy floating on the cover there, the little head.
Yeah.
You don't want to know how that's.
Oh, I've just accepted that I have no idea what's going on with Otherworld. So these are, because you said that Dark Angel Saga is kind of the peak, and nothing really ever reaches that. I get what you're saying, but this stuff is still really good.
Well, I had forgotten a lot of this, so now I'm rereading. I'm like, you know what? These are actually better than I remember.
Yeah.
But that Dark Angel scene where him and Warren and Betty live out their whole life, it still gets me. That is,
yeah.
Oh.
And I was concerned because you told me that the next story was a Captain Britain story, and obviously I knew nothing about Captain Britain, so I'm like, oh, what does Captain Britain got to do with X-Force? What's happening here? What do we? And I legit knew nothing about Captain Britain, and now I want to learn everything about this character.
Well, now I wish there were. I'm sure there's some way online to read those Alan Moore issues. I mean, they are insane. I'll say 30 or 40 issues.
Wow.
It's a long run, yeah. And it is messed up. They're fighting the ultimate. He later becomes retconned as a Sentinel, but the Fury, I mean, it's the scariest type of Sentinel that's ever been in any comic book. It kills everything.
Isn't that supposed to be Nimrod though?
Yeah, but Nimrod's got nothing on the Fury. The Fury is terrifying, and then you got Jim Jaspers, this insane guy that can warp reality. So you have these two different threats that are happening.
Jim Jasper sounds familiar, at least.
Well, we may have named one of our puppets after that we had at Children's Church.
That might be it.
There was a hairless cat named Jim Jaspers. Anyhow, but yeah.
Anyway, So this one, I mean, this is, and you know what's funny? This is it's so on brand for X-Force, and yet it also feels like a tonal whiplash, and I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of, all of a sudden here's elves and skeleton warriors and zombies, and you're like, wait, what? Where are we at?
And, Dark Angel is such a, first of all, it's sort of like it's a sort of time traveling story because, like, you know, you could say that Age of Apocalypse is like an alternate universe, but in a way it is kind of like an alternate future. And it's also so personal because it has to do with Warren, and he's a member of the team. And then we just get Otherworld. And I mean, like, it honestly, I think this is the only way that you could have followed up Dark Angel Saga, because I don't think you could have gone from Dark Angel Saga to Final Execution. I think you needed Otherworld.
Yeah, you need something in the middle there that's a palate cleanser, and then you get back to the. I say get back to the story, but this is still the story.
Yeah, no, definitely. But you definitely need something a little. I'm not gonna. It's hard to say that this is less personal, but it's like, I don't know. It's just so weird, and that's why I love these books, is because they are so weird and out there.
Yeah. So at the end of this, they kind of forgive Phantom X, and
We forgive you for killing Kid.
yeah, it's kind of like, okay, we get it. We see why you did it now, and you helped save the day.
Imagine a kid reading this and be like, because comic books are for kids. He's like, oh, I can kill a kid as long as it's for the greater good.
So what's really weird was I finished up reading Captain Marvel this past week. Marvel, the Peter David run about Captain Marvel's son that's trying to live in follow his father's footsteps. And one of those stories involved him traveling to the future and meeting the kid that he's going to have one day, and meeting him as an adult, and he becomes a bad guy and he's about to destroy the whole world. And finally Captain Marvel goes, oh, I know how to beat you. And the son's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden the guy starts fading away. He's like, no, dad, I love you. Don't do this. And then it shows, Captain Marvel returns back to modern times, and it shows him years and years later once he's married and has kids, and he's looking at the baby in the cradle. It fades to black, and you're like, holy crap.
And yet Deadpool 2 can still make me laugh at that.
Yeah. So I mean, and then I was reading Silver Surfer, and he had to make a judgment call. He went back to being a time, and he had a chance to kill Galactus before he came Galactus. So this theme is happening a lot in these comic books of, if you could stop evil before it has a chance to become evil, do you do it?
Which is so, it's such a weird thing, because going back briefly to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mm-hmm.
I swear this is relevant. Cameron brought up, because like we said, the movie is about regret, and Cameron brought up, is like, yeah, it's kind of like, those questions of, if you could go back in time and change something, what would you do? The question is really, what do you regret?
Right.
Because no one would actually go back and kill baby Hitler. It would always be something personal.
Said the word. Okay.
Oh,
we just got flagged by something.
I didn't say it. I said baby Hitler.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right. I was like, because at first I was like, I'll stop him. And then you changed it to something else. Okay, good. He didn't say it. Then you said it. I was like, dang it. It's all right.
I wasn't thinking.
YouTube is weird. Anyhow, so let's move on to the next part of the story. The team is really screwed up. Psylocke finally gives in to Phantom X's romantic advances, but she's so screwed up that she just finally gave in. Mm-hmm. And then the next day she's like, I'm out of here. I'm quitting the team. And then Phantom X is like, well, if you're gone, I'm gone. There's no reason for me to be here. So they both leave the team.
It kind of reminds me of I was watching Asmongold the other day, And Asmongold says it like it is. He's like, listen, the only reason that I'm into crazy girls is because anyone who's into me has to be crazy. And I'm like, that's probably what's going on with FinalMonkey.
Yeah, FinalMonkey, if you don't know, he's like this. He was kind of a Weapon X project, but he's kind of like a super spy. But he has 3 different brains, and which is weird to say. But he has 3 different brains, and they're all kind of influencing what he's doing at any moment. So one of the brains is completely evil, and so he's always doing stuff that.
That's another thing. They started killing the brains in the last in Otherworld.
Yes,
they were killing the brains one at a time.
Yeah, it's wild. So anyhow, we see Deadpool. He's gone on a mission, and I guess at this point in his own book, he has lost his healing factor, which I know is all jarring. All of a sudden, he has no healing factor in the story. But he's gone on a mission, and he has found a facility that can create any type of an assassin you want. And so they have made assassins using Omega Red's DNA of his supposed children, and given them false memories that X-Force had killed their parents. So Wolverine and Nightcrawler go rescue Deadpool. You'll notice a pattern in these stories when you read them all back to back to back, whereas everybody gets infected with cancer or this or that or whatever. It happens over and over where they, the villains will use some type of disease against them or something.
It's kind of like, do you remember I don't know if you've ever watched the Harley Quinn show, but I don't know if you've even seen the clip with the cancer ray.
I have not.
Oh, so Harley Quinn just picks up a random gun in like a mad scientist lab and shoots one of the goons that are after, and then she was like, cancer ray, who would make that? And he's like, you gave me cancer, screw this, I'm going home to be with my family. And she's like, sorry.
That's very much a Venture Brothers joke.
It is.
One of my favorite Venture Brothers jokes is Brock is fighting all these henchmen, and he's like killing them all left and right. Very violent. And he grabs the one guy by the crotch, he squeezes it, and he's like, "Oh, whoa! I feel a lump. Whoa! That doesn't feel normal." The guy's like, "What? Yeah, you know what? You should really go get that checked out. That really doesn't feel good." The guy's like, "Oh, God." He's like, "Yeah, sorry, bud." So the guy just hobbles off crying and stuff.
I need to watch Venture. I've had so many people tell me to watch it.
Venture Brothers is incredible. The new movie is out. I really want to watch it. So anyhow, back to the story. FinalMonkey hooks up with Psylocke again. Only it's not Psylocke, it is Mystique. And they realize that, hey, something's up. All the members of X-Force are being targeted. It turns out there's a new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that is after them. We see Psylocke get confronted by Xavier and Angel. Only it's not them. It's the Shadow King messing with her again. And we see the kids at Wolverine's school going on a field trip. And Evan gets kidnapped by the Blob and Sabretooth. And this Blob is not our Blob. This is the Blob from Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, and can I just go ahead and say, I think this might be my favorite Brotherhood of Mutants lineup.
It's a pretty cool lineup, yeah. I would say that the Omega Red children are probably the weakest link of it, but the rest are really cool. Mystique, Sabretooth, Blob.
And their leader...
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah.
Dakin or Dakin, or however you say it.
I don't know how to pronounce it,
yeah.
So what is he originally from?
So they did a Wolverine origin type series, and it was all about Dakin or Dakin or whatever, about this child that Wolverine did not know he had. And then eventually he gets recruited by Norman Osborn to be the Wolverine on Dark Avengers and all that. So yeah, this is kind of the end of his story. We'll get to that here in a minute.
Okay.
So yeah, Psylocke and Phantom X, or Phantom X ends up rescuing Psylocke, but the Skinless Man catches up with him, rips his heart out, I believe, if I recall
Yes.
right. So Phantom X is dead. Well, he kind of sacrifices himself so she can get away. And I don't remember how Wolverine all them catch up back up with her, but they end up going to the base to regroup, and the Brotherhood's already there. They already have Evan, and because Phantom X is dead, they have lost control of that robot. I can't remember his name. It's like Apollyon, whatever that robot's name is.
Eva.
No, not Eva. The other one, the one that was guarding the world for him. He's only been in it a
Oh.
little bit. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Anyhow, Eva has now rebooted herself. Now Phantom X is dead, and she's her own individual instead of just a spaceship. She's actually a robot or whatever. I guess a sentinel. I don't know what she is. So they end up killing Gateway, the teleporter guy, and so Psylocke uses his last moments to teleport them somewhere. And they end up getting teleported into the future. And this is the part I really like. I love it when they go to a possible future. Anytime X-Men does this, I'm on board.
I mean, that's the name of the game with X-Men is possible futures.
Yeah. And so they run to Deathlock again, and he's like, "Hey, come with me," and he's actually wanting to kill them because he doesn't like the future that they are in, and the future that we are in is a world that is ruled by X-Force. And basically, what happened was Apocalypse rose to power thanks to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and X-Force had to stop him.
And that was Evan.
Right.
It was, yeah.
Right. So Evan rose to power, so they had to take him out, and then the world loved them as heroes. And now it is Minority Report, where anytime there's any premeditation of committing a crime, they will execute you on the spot or stop you. Mm-hmm. And so it's like Punisher's working for them, and Cable and Hope and everybody. And so Wolverine's like, our Wolverine's like, no, we will not turn into this. And they're like, you're already going down this path. You've already started this.
Which one of the, not only do I love alternate universe, alternate future stories, but I love the Justice Lords. Mm-hmm. And that's really what this is.
Yep. And Psylocke's like, I'll never be this. And then you see that Psylocke's the one running everything, or Wolverine. Yeah. And they start dropping hints. This is where we're gonna spoil everything. They start dropping hints that Nightcrawler is gonna betray them, and they're basically telling you what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But future Wolverine whispers something in Wolverine's ear, and we don't know what it is till the end of the story. And so they end up going back, and so now it's like, okay, we gotta go rescue Evan. No matter what, we have to stop them. And they're doing horrible things to Evan. They are taking him to gas stops and saying, hey, either you kill Sabretooth or Sabretooth's going to kill everybody in the building. and Evan's like, I will not use my power. So they're like, fine. And they just start killing everybody. They kill his fake parents. Shadow King puts it in his mind that they've, his Ma and Pa Kent type parents, they kill them. Mm-hmm. They animate Phantom X's body and make him think Phantom X is alive. And they're like, just kidding, he's still dead, and they're just being terrible to Evan. And if you haven't read Wolverine the X-Men yet, but Evan is like the sweetest kid. So to see him being put through this is horrible. He's the shy kid that, he just wants to be friends with everybody. And they're just,
I was wondering this. Where during Wolverine and the X-Men does this take place? Still towards the beginning, or?
Yeah, I'd say I'm assuming this is pre AVX, so this is probably like the first 6 issues of Wolverine the X-Men or so.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, like probably right before AVX. And they don't, in Wolverine the X-Men, they don't ever call him Apocalypse. So here to see Kid Omega flat out calling him Apocalypse, that's a little jarring because they don't ever do that. And everybody's kind of hush hush, like, oh, don't mention Apocalypse around him, you know. Yeah, you got to meet Kid Gladiator. I love Kid Gladiator. He's so much fun. Let's see. I'm such a huge fan of Wolverine the X-Men. I'm really curious to see what you think of that when we get to that.
It's going to be hard to top this, I'll be honest.
Oh no, this is totally very different. But it's kind of like my favorite. Like they've done Young X-Men so many times. You know, we've had Generation X, New Mutants, whatever. Wolverine the X-Men is my favorite version of that, of the future of X-Men.
Okay.
All right, so back to our story. Where were we? Oh, they've been torturing Evan. So Deadpool.
I believe Psylocke, she even tries to kill herself. Like with seppuku.
Yes, she did that in the future. I skipped over that.
Oh, okay.
And so the future X-Force saves her life and all this. But yeah, she's like, I cannot live with myself anymore. Because yeah, she's had a rough. Last few storylines have not been kind to Psylocke at all.
You know what's funny? I've always said that if you watch the 90s show, then you have at least a decent enough knowledge of X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think the farther and farther we get away from the 90s, I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Psylocke. When I started reading X-Men back in the 90s, she was just a ninja that flirted with Cyclops all the time. And so I never liked her. She was just the girl that wore the skimpy outfits, kind of that she was the slut. I'll say it. And you find out later that what's happened is that she is now in the body of Kawanin, I think is her name. Like she started out, she was a British girl. Now she's Japanese. And so she switched bodies with her. And so like their personalities are affecting each other. So Kawanin's personality is making her flirt with Cyclops and whatnot. So yeah, I never really liked Psylocke until I read Uncanny X-Force. And now I'm like, oh, I really like this character a lot.
And my exposure to Psylocke was Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because everyone played as her.
Yeah,
and that's all I had.
Yeah. So I believe it's when she tries to kill herself. It's when she has the vision with Angel again, and Angel's telling her to, it's time for you to move on with your life, and we'll be together again someday, and all that stuff. Which is really touching. But when she comes out of that, she thinks that the older Psylocke put that vision in her head. She doesn't trust that vision that she just had. So anyhow, they are invading the base. Mystique at some point makes a deal with Kurt. Says like, hey, if you join up with me, I'll let you get revenge on the Blob who killed your wife in the AOA timeline. And so Kurt ends up betraying them. Deadpool ends up getting to Evan, and they're trying to escape from everything. I know I'm getting some of this out of order, but we have this crazy final fight between Nightcrawler and Blob where he teleports a shark inside of the Blob.
Yep.
and
he
the
eats
shark
him from the inside out.
Yeah, it's gruesome. I don't know. I mean, this is really all Jeff Loeb's fault. The idea of Blob being a cannibal was introduced in Ultimatum, where I think he ate the wasp in that story.
Yeah.
So I don't like Blob being a cannibal. It's really gross.
Well, and it's just based on a joke.
Yeah,
because he's fat.
We'll have to talk about Jeff Loeb some other day about how he screwed up the Ultimate Universe so bad.
Oh, I mean, if we talk about Jeff Loeb, it'd be more than that. I just talk about how Jeff Loeb's a horrible person.
We love you, Jeff.
We do?
Anyhow, he gave us Teen Wolf, okay? He gave us Teen Wolf and Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's see, what am I forgetting here? Psylocke has a big fight with Shadow King. They end up trapping Shadow King inside one of the Omega Reds.
Eva confronts Nightcrawler.
Yes. And she's kind of kicking his butt, and then Mystique and Nightcrawler sneak away. So I was like, wait, whatever happened to AOA Nightcrawler? So I was looking it up. They just killed him off in one of the sub storyline. I think that the Extermination storyline where they were dealing with Bendis's young X-Men. Finally, I think they were killing off anybody that wasn't supposed to be in this time stream. So they killed off the AOA Nightcrawler. So obviously Rick Remender and Jason Aaron probably had bigger plans for that, but then Bendis, of course, blew everything up. So anyhow,
he tends to do that.
Yeah. And you're gonna see that in Wolverine and the X-Men, how we have this really great thing going, and then also Brian Michael Bendis shows up.
So are you getting me to read something and then be disappointed by Bendis?
Oh, it's still a fun run. I want to introduce some new characters to you that are just like Evan and Brew, and I know you've read Kid Omega before, but kind of modern Kid Omega, Kid Gladiator, and ID, and all that stuff. There's some fun characters, and this picks up storylines from Astonishing Wolverine and Spider-Man that we read a while back.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so it's going to tie into all that. See, I've been making you read everything. It's all gonna hook together.
It's all coming together. You're like Kevin Feige of the pop culture shark universe.
Well, here's my goal of these book clubs is modern X-Men is kind of a mess right now. Modern Marvel's kind of a mess. So I'm trying to point out there's really good storylines that you probably overlooked. They're not that old. I mean, this story's about 15 years old, I guess. There's good stuff that, people say, oh, the X-Men era after Grant Morrison or after Joss Whedon is crap. Well, no, there's still good stuff in there if you look for it.
I mean, I was definitely I guess I'm still right, because I always said it was after AVX, which I guess in a way I'm still right, because this is all pre-AVX. But yeah, this was all like side stories that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, speaking of modern X-Men, you know what I found out about modern X-Men that I had no idea about? Did you know that Moira died again?
Well, I knew she got turned into a robot. You talking about before or after that?
I think it might have been after that. She's on Life 11 now.
Yeah, that's when she became the robot.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Didn't know that. I think that was at the end of Hickman's, like him leaving. That's how he left it when he left the book or something.
I mean, honestly, I want to catch up just because, like, if they're in such a deep hole that Hickman dug. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that. So Hickman dug the hole and he was the only one who knew how to get back.
Yeah.
And so it's more just like interesting trying to figure out how they get out. Because they've got.
I'll be very curious a year from now what X-Men looks like. Because right now they're doing Fall of X, where it's supposed to end all this.
So is it? Because I mean, like they're going back. Well, I guess they are going back to Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, this is the third and final Hellfire Gala. They're finally, I hope. I don't know.
Oh man, I wanted to be able to report on the Hellfire Gala every year for the next 10 years. It would have been amazing.
Wait, did you hear what they did at this one?
No.
So they've been having every year at the Hellfire Gala, the readers get to pick a member of the new X-Men team. So it's like an online poll.
I remember first year it was Polaris, right?
I think so. So this year, there's like 6 candidates. Well, they said, you know what? All 6 of them get on the team, and then they killed them all off immediately.
I mean, I respect that. Who's writing X-Men right now? Who is that?
Is it this is off the
Is
top
it
of my head? I don't know. I think it's Ewing, but I'm not sure.
is it someone? I'm just wondering if it's someone I respect.
If it's Ewing, he's the one who wrote Immortal Hulk and all that. Here's the thing about. We'll get back to X-Force here in just a minute. Here's the thing about the Krakoa era is all of the Psylocke stories are all about Otherworld and all the Captain Britain stuff. And that's been going on since the beginning of the Genosha era.
I'm still because I promise we will get back, but I have to know who is writing X-Men right now.
I feel like there's 2 main X-Men books, and I feel like one of them is the guy that was writing Wolverine. At least last I heard. I kind of stopped keeping up with all of this as it came clear. Once Hickman left, I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of out.
Dugan?
So Jerry Duggan is the one who was writing Wolverine. So yeah, he was writing X-Men, but I thought Ewing was writing there's 2 X-Men titles. I thought he was writing the other one.
For some reason, I thought Kieran Gillen was on X-Men or something.
He may have been. I don't know. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah, we're okay. Back to Uncanny X-Force.
All right, so we get down to this.
It's so fun talking about. I love talking about stuff that's good. It's also fun talking about things that are bad.
So Dakin is, he has a Wolverine tied up, and he's like, I always, had these fantasies that you were going to come home one day, that my dad would walk in the front door, we would play catch, and you were just never there. You never showed up. And Wolverine's like, I didn't know you existed. If I'd known, I'd been there in a heartbeat. I would have gone through hell for you. And
knowing Wolverine, he would have.
He has. We've seen those stories. So what's so weird is Dakin is now part of the Genosha modern storylines, and he's like a cool guy. He's like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, Dad, let's go hang out. And it's like
he's just playing catch with Wolverine.
Yeah, the characterizations are way off. That's my problem with a lot of Genoshas. They just ignore characterizations.
Genosha or Krakoa?
Krakoa.
Okay.
I get them mixed up, but yeah.
An island full of mutants.
Yes.
It just so happens that one of the islands is alive and is also a mutant.
Yes, and I'm a big fan of Krakoa during the Wolverine and the X-Men storyline. You'll get there. Krakoa is great. Let's see.
You know what's the weird thing about, for all intents and purposes, the last bad guy is Dakin. And even though Wolverine is the leader of the team, he's kind of been in the same boat as Deadpool, where like the stories aren't really about him.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of weird that kind of like the final bad guy is the one with the vendetta against Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean the Apocalypse story, it's kind of an Apocalypse story, and then you had a Phantom X story, then we had an Angel story, then a Psylocke story. Now this is the Wolverine story.
Well, and in a way, even with the Phantom X story, the Angel story, and the Psylocke story, they're all intertwined because of the love triangle.
Yes.
So I guess I see what they're doing, but I guess it just feels weird because it's almost like, and none of this is a complaint. I love this run. It's just an observation that Phantom X, Psylocke, and Angel are kind of like doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm. So Dakin figures out, he's like, hey, I know how to kill Wolverine. You just drown him. You keep him underwater long enough, his body will eventually be unable to heal. So they throw him in this aquarium. He's drowning, and he keeps telling Evan, "Come on, bust him out." And I can't remember what happened. Did Evan finally snap and bust him out? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So here's my question: Does he refuse to use his powers like at all, like in Wolverine and the X-Men as well?
It's more of his shape shifting abilities. Not, I say shape shifting, but his limbs get longer. It's not like Mr. Fantastic, but it's hard to explain. Then he has like the eye blast and stuff. A lot of Apocalypse's powers come from the celestial armor that he got. So Evan doesn't have that celestial armor like the regular Apocalypse has. Although here in this story there is an armor they're trying to get him to use. So we get Wolverine versus Dakin, and Wolverine ends up killing Dakin the way that Dakin was planning to kill Wolverine. He holds his head underwater until he drowns. And then you find out later on
The message,
from
Yeah.
the older Wolverine was like, he said, I couldn't do it. I couldn't kill Dakin. He kills every kid at your school. You have to kill him. So again, we've seen this over and over throughout this, where the team has had to make this hard choice and kill somebody.
And ironically, like, I think this is the most morally okay.
Yeah, Dakin's
If
not a good person, but it's still your child.
right. This is more of a personal thing than like actual, because like there's killing a kid, there is essentially killing a member of the team, and then there's also possessing someone to kill someone else, which is that's a whole other thing. I mean, this is just the classic, I don't want to have to kill my child, but you're gonna kill all of my other children.
Yeah.
In a way.
So then Sabretooth, I think, starting a fight with Evan, and Evan starts beating Sabretooth up, and then Sabretooth's like, go on, kill me, and Evan's like, no, I won't sink to your level. And so Sabretooth's like, whatever, and he leaves, and then at the end we see Evan's back at the school, and Deadpool has kind of taken that mentor role that Phantom X had.
I love this. Like what he says, like Evan is a symbol that anyone can be redeemed. Like, I mean, why is Deadpool making me feel things, man?
I tell you, Deadpool is an awesome character when you have an awesome writer. And so many people just make him, he's the Punisher that cracks jokes, and he's not,
You know what this is? This is because I've always said that, like, as far as movies go, I think Deadpool 2 is way better than the first one. I think that Deadpool 2 probably pulled from this because of his relationship with Rusty.
Probably. Yeah, I can see that. So yeah, we see they clone Phantom X to bring him back, but the machine gets confused because of the 3 brains. It makes 3 different clones.
There's Weapon 13, which is evil. Phantom X is Phantom X.
Yeah.
And then Cluster is a girl.
Yes.
So here's this is where my questions come in. So for those of you who don't know, at the end of AVX, or probably towards the middle, Cyclops, possessed by the Phoenix Force, kills Professor Xavier.
Yes.
And then at some point, Professor X comes back before House of X, in the body of Phantom X.
Yes, I forgot about that, where he's Mr. X.
Which one is it? Is it Phantom X? Is Weapon 13 and Cluster still out and about?
I don't think so. So here's the thing: there is another. Okay, so where do things go from here? A versus X happens right after this. So at the end of that, they form a new team, the Uncanny Avengers by Rick Remender.
Have you read that?
I have.
Is it good?
Yes, but not as good as this. It's Havoc, the Wasp, Rogue, Sunfire, Wolverine. I want to say Wonder Man. Yeah, I think that's the team. They are dealing with
So,
the Red Skull, who has stolen Xavier's brain, and they're also dealing with Angel's kids that he had during this storyline. Kang raises them, and they grow up to be awful, awful people. There's a lot of time travel shenanigans in that one, and
uh,
that builds up to Axis. I don't know if you remember the Axis storyline,
sort of.
and then that's where Rick Remender's run kind of ends with Marvel.
I mean, I'll go ahead and just say I mean, I think that this kind of solidifies that I'm more of an X-Men fan than an overall Marvel fan, because everything you just said, I'm not interested in it.
It's fine. It's Red Skull gets like the powers of Onslaught, and what happens is he flips everybody on their axis. So everybody is bad is good and good is bad. So all the villains become the heroes. Like Sabretooth's like the hero of Axis, and I think Deadpool's kind of in the middle because he's already ambiguous with his morality, anyways. Um, yeah, Axis is not the greatest storyline, but it is interesting. There's a lot about Havoc going evil. And a lot of that gets picked up in the Krakoa era, the Havoc stuff. What happens to Psylocke and Phantom X after this? There is another X-Force book that is more Cable X-Force, but Psylocke and some of the Phantom X's are members of that. What's weird is Angel also is a member of it. Like they can activate him as Archangel, but he doesn't remember anything. It's weird. I don't know. I haven't read that stuff.
Is that the Cable and the X-Force?
It may be. I think Colossus is on the team also.
I mean, I have it pulled up on Wikipedia. Cable, Domino, Colossus, Forge, Doctor Nemesis, and Boom Boom, with Havoc and Hope Summers as supporting characters.
That doesn't sound like, because I'm pretty sure Psylocke and Phantom X or Cluster or one of them are on the team.
Oh, that's Sam Humphries, Volume 2.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't involve Cable. That's what is it? Spiral, Storm, Puck. I don't know who's Puck.
He's from Alpha Flight.
Oh,
that's all you get.
Yeah. I mean, is that all I need?
He's the little dude from Alpha Flight. That's all you need.
Okay. So you haven't read this stuff?
I have not read the Sam Humphries X-Force.
So it is Cluster, not Phantom X. So where does Phantom X go after this?
Well, I think that we try to keep this PG, but I think Psylocke starts a relationship with two of them.
Because they're the same person?
I don't know. Like I said, it gets weird.
And then what about Weapon 13? Like I said, the ending gave. I have so many questions.
Yeah. So around this time is when Bendis is entering the scene right now. Also, AVX right after that is where Bendis comes into the storylines. So a lot of things just get wrecked. The 5 young X-Men really blow up a lot of the storylines. For example, Kitty is a big character in the early issues of Wolverine the X-Men, and she starts dating Iceman, and they make an awesome couple, and I love it.
Right.
And then once the 5 young X-Men show up, Kitty goes off with them to become like their Professor X, and that's when she falls in love with Star Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy, and you start seeing how all these things are getting screwed up by Bendis. And then he's like, "Oh, an Iceman's gay," and I'm like, "But I just read him dating Kitty. What?"
Yeah, it's not
And then, like,
so
I
many.
think during the Bendis storyline, like, you find out that Mystique and Xavier had a son together and all this stuff, and you're like, "What are you talking about? You're just making up crap," you know?
Oh, that's I got to know who wrote this then, because I'm just still trying to figure out what like. So apparently, Nate Summers recruits Phantom X as a part of his new X-Force team, with the promise that he'll help Phantom X find Cluster and Weapon 13. He proves a questionable ally as he constantly bickers with Psylocke. Okay, so this is a different because okay, this is where comics get weird because you've got your Uncanny X-Force, you've got X-Force, and then you have got Cable in the X-Force. You don't know which one. So
and Marvel does not make this easy. Like
no.
I know I've been reading comic books since like 91, 92, Marvel comics. I can't tell you what order stories go in anymore because they reboot the numbers so often. And you go on Marvel Unlimited and you're trying to find a title, and it's like X-Force 2018, X-Force 2012, X-Force da-da-da. And you're like, okay, wait, what, huh? And you can't, and it's like, oh, well, now it's Cable in the X-Force. So this is in a totally different section on our website. And it's such a mess. And I understand why you've ran off most of your audience. A new audience is never going to come in because they don't know where to start.
Oh yeah.
It's not like manga where you're like, okay, start with book 1 and go. I mean, you could kind of do that from like with the Epic collections from the 60s up to like the 90s.
But you can't because they're not in print and they cost like hundreds of dollars.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so apparently X-Force Volume 4 came out during the all-new Marvel Now campaign, written by Simon Spurrier, who I'm not familiar with.
Simon Spurrier, you are familiar with. He
I
did
am.
a documentary called Supersize This or Supersize Me or Supersize.
What?
I think it's the same guy. Why don't you go look?
I'm looking at this right now. I'm not seeing that.
Am I making that up? I may be
Might.
making it up.
Now I get super.
You know what? I don't think it's the same guy.
Morgan Spurlock. Morgan Spurlock did Supersize Me.
You know what? I've been getting these two guys mixed up for years now. I just realized.
That's funny. Okay, so Simon Spurrier did X-Men Legacy. And he's currently writing Uncanny Spider-Man. Oh, he's writing Nightcrawler right now.
I'm so confused right now. It's very hot in this room back here. My brain's starting to melt.
Well, it's not just that. It's also the fact that Marvel really sucks at like labeling their books. So anyway, so this volume 4 is Cable, Psylocke, Phantom X, Dr. Nemesis, and Marrow.
I loved Marrow back in the day. So I screwed her up.
The title has ended with 15 issues. And then X-Force didn't come back until right before House of X.
So what blows up Wolverine and the X-Men is they kill off Wolverine. There's a volume 2 after Jason Aaron's run that doesn't last very long because they kill off Wolverine. They do the death of Wolverine, and then Cyclops dies during X-Men versus Inhumans. So then you don't have Wolverine, you don't have Cyclops. Jean Grey had been dead for years. Around this time, she comes back. They start bringing back Cyclops and Wolverine, but they had damaged the X-Men so much during this that it's a mess. So we're kind of reading all the good stuff before it becomes a mess.
But you know what sucks is like I want to keep going.
I know.
Here's the thing. This X-Force with Cable, Psylocke, Phantom X, Dr. Nemesis, and Marrow sounds really enticing.
Do you know who Marrow is?
The one with the bones.
Yeah, she was a Morlock terrorist.
Morlocks, yeah.
Who joined the X-Men when Joe Kelly was writing it. And I really like those stories. Because there's this amazing scene, you'll have to look it up, where Wolverine's doing his, I'm the tough guy, and he's trying to do the tough love, like when they take kids like to the prison, and the prison convicts yell at them and stuff. Scared straight, he's trying to do the scared straight thing, and she just takes out she can pull out the bones and stab people with them. She stabs him in the throat. And Wolverine's like, oh, and he's like bleeding out on the floor. It's such a crazy scene. You'll have to check that one out. But I really liked Marrow until at some point they cure her of her abilities, and I don't like when they cure the mutants because it makes them less interesting. Like I like Rogue when she can't control her powers. But anywho,
so I might be an X-Force fan because now I'm just looking at like what they've been doing with X-Force, and their teams are really cool. Like the X-Force team for Dawn of X is Beast, Black Tom Cassidy, Domino, Jean Grey, Sage, and Wolverine, with Kid Omega and Colossus joining.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a cool team. And so here's my thing. I will actually never be able to take Black Tom Cassidy seriously because of Deadpool 2.
Is he? It's been a while since I've seen Deadpool 2. Is he in Deadpool 2?
He is. He's in the so the joke with Black Tom Cassidy is he's in the prison with Wade and Rusty. He's like, I'm Black Tom Cassidy. And he's like, I'm White Wade Wilson. and then Cable kills Black Tom Cassidy. He's like, you racist. And that's the reason, because like that's one of the running gags in Deadpool 2 is he keeps calling Cable a racist because he killed Black Tom Cassidy.
That's funny.
So that's why I can't take Black Tom Cassidy seriously. And that's why it's like, look at that. Old Deadpool was able to cure your racist heart. I don't know. And then I'm curious about X-Men Blue Origins, because I mean I gotta see them do this Mystique Destiny thing. Well,
we've somehow made Caleb even more of an X-Men fan, and that I guess that was the goal all along. It's just to show him some cool characters he did not know about or had not given a second thought to.
So I was a mainline X-Men fan from Claremont up to AVX, and then House of X got me in and immediately back out. And now I'm back in again.
Yeah, so next month, I guess it'll be, I think we said the first weekend of September, we'll be talking about Wolverine the X-Men. The first 20 issues or so, we'll probably talk a little bit about Schism and AVX also.
Oh, I will talk so much AVX. I don't know if I've said this before, but okay, so Annihilation is my favorite crossover, right?
Yes.
But AVX is my favorite crossover that takes place on Earth.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, if you want to join us here first week of September, read along at home. All these issues are available on Marvel Unlimited, except for the Captain Britain issues, which that's between Marvel and Alan Moore. I wish they'd get their acts together, but